In this video, I'm going to do a quick introduction to type on a path in InDesign. This is how you get your type to not just be in boxes or on straight lines. You can actually wrap it around different shapes or draw a custom path. So I'm going to start with a shape. So I'm going to change to my ellipse tool. I'm going to hold my shift key so I draw a perfect circle. And then to make things a little bit easier to look at, I'm going to remove the fill. If I click and hold on the type tool, I can see that there's a special type on a path tool. So I'm going to select that, and you notice that your cursor changes a bit. And I want to just curve a couple words around the top. So I'm going to click here. Wherever you click is going to be sort of the start of your text area, but you can always change that. So I'm going to hover over the path until I get that plus sign, and then click there. And I'll type the text that I want in there. From then on, your character palette should sort of work as normal. You can change the font. You could play with things like the tracking and kerning, change the style, the size, all of that. In your paragraph panel, some of these options still will apply. So if I center this text, it's going to center perfectly between the start point, and then when this is on a closed shape, the end point is automatically sort of back to back with your starting point. If I switch to my direct selection tool, I can actually see those things. So this line here is my starting point. This line here is my ending point. So I could drag this end point over here, and then the type would only be on the top half of this circle. If you're going to move these, make sure that you get the little extra arrowhead under the selection tool arrowhead, or you won't be grabbing quite the right thing. The other thing we can do when we're in the direct selection tool with type on a path is flip which side of the line we are using. So by default, it goes with the outside. If I wanted this on the inside, I need to look for this tiny thing. So this little line is always in the exact middle between your starting and ending point. So you need to find that again with your direct selection tool. Make sure you have that little up arrow with the line next to the regular selection arrow. And I'm going to drag that down to the other side of the line. And now I've got my upside down text in my circle. If I change my start and end points, I can transform this into text inside the circle, but that's right side up and quite a bit easier to read. So when you're done placing your type, you want to make sure that you take the stroke off of that object. So over here I'll make the stroke 0, and now I have this curved type. Once I have type on this path, I can add more in that same direction on the same side, but I can't also add type on the other side of the line. I can't reuse that circle. So if you want multiple pieces of type based on the same shape, and I'm just going to pop the stroke back on here quick to show, what you would need to do is copy that circle, paste it in place, and then delete your original content and edit it so that you have type that refers to the same circle. You can also still change the shape once you put type on it. So you can make it smaller, which often causes problems with the type running into itself. You can make it bigger, you can distort it, so you can make it an oval so it's a bit less of a curve. All depends on the circumstance you're using it for. So that's type on a path that's on a shape. You can also draw that path freehand. So any path that you draw in InDesign can have type on it. So I'm going to get my pen tool and start drawing a shape here, and I'm going to let it automatically fill in just so you can better see in the video. Typically I would turn the fill off before I even started drawing. So here you can see I've got my line, so now I'll take that fill off. And for the moment, I'll leave the stroke just so I can easily see what's there. I'll go to my Type on a Path tool, hover over until I get that plus sign. And now this whole area is one type on a path. So I have a bunch of filler text on my clipboard. I'm going to paste that in and make the type a little bit smaller. So before I decide this is all good and take the stroke off, there's a couple things that we should notice. First of all, the letters start piling up here. So this happens whenever sort of the font is a bit too big for the amount of curve available, or there might be a quirk in the way you drew the path where you ended up with kind of a sharp corner when you didn't really want one. Could be you didn't drag far enough when you were drawing with the pen tool. So I can still edit this path. This is still a path even though it has type on it. So I'm going to go to my direct selection tool and select just that anchor point. So this might take some zooming in, and I'm also going to tap the W key so I get rid of the red misspelling lines there. And there's that anchor point I want. So I'm going to click on that one, and I'm going to pull out on the handles. That's usually one of the big things in fixing these little pileups. And you can see it's starting to look a lot more comfortable. So now that I've got that fixed, the other thing that I want to make sure you know is at the end here, if you see this little plus sign, that means that there's overflowing text. So the amount of text that you pasted or typed in there does not fit in the visible area. Sometimes this doesn't really matter, and if you want to get more advanced with this, you could click on this and link it to a text box and it will automatically reflow. So if you select everything, you can see they're connected. When I make the type smaller, it's automatically flowing back up to this line. You could also link two Type on a Path areas. If you set two of them up, paste on the first, you can again click on that red area, click on your other Type on a Path, and then they'll sort of flow together. So be on the lookout for those little red plus signs if it's going to be important for the thing that you're working on. So again, I will select this whole shape and set the stroke to 0 points. And there I've got Type on a Custom Path, fully editable path still, fully editable text, and a great way to get some sort of unorthodox type into your project.